I want to learn by reading. That's just incredible that I can learn something from reading a book. What a world. Hi friends and welcome back to my channel. Today I'll be talking about authors that I want to read more books by. Sometimes we just love a book, we love it so much, but then we forget that that author has probably written so many more books that perhaps we would enjoy too, because sometimes it's the writing that captures us. I read books by authors.
Yeah, no shit, Sherlock!
And I have really appreciated them and their writing and their themes and like the overall book. And I feel like, well, if I enjoy one book by that author, there's a high probability that I will enjoy other books by that author. And I haven't really explored that with these authors that I'll talk about today. I want to talk about books I read by authors and why I want to read more books by them. The first author I would like to talk about, and the author that actually kind of inspired me to make this video, is none other than the also famous Hanya Yanagihara, the writer of the book A Little Life, that is very famous on BookTube, all the book communities and medias, for being very devastating, heartbreaking, and just a difficult and emotional and tragic read. Yes, this is not a book I would recommend to everyone. It is very sad. It has a lot of trigger warnings, a lot of sad themes, and if you can't handle it, don't read it. Like, you don't feel good when reading this book. But the thing with this book is I loved it. I loved it because of the writing. The writing was so good and so interesting to me. This book, or at least this edition of it, is over 800 pages long, which is insane. It's one of the longest books I've ever read. But despite the fact that this book is over 800 pages, I was never once bored by this book. The writing never made me bored. I was never tired. I never wanted to skip. I was constantly captivated by this book. And this book is told a lot through flashbacks, memories. You're being told about events, which in some books are quite boring, I feel like. But not in this one. For some reason it worked. That's the reason I gave this book 5 stars to begin with, because I was so impressed by how this writing captured me and kept me interested. Execution is immaculate with this book. Because of that, because I loved the writing in this book so much, I feel like I should definitely explore other books by Hanya Yanagihara. The one book I know about is The People in the Trees. That one was released in 2013. This one was released in 2015. And that is definitely something that you need to consider with authors as well, that their writing develops. Perhaps the writing will not be up to par with this book because this was released later, so perhaps her writing has changed or improved or something, but I still wish to explore more of her books. I know that she's having a book released next year that is called To Paradise, and that one is being released on the 11th of January. I will definitely pick that one up too. Before that, I would love to read The People in the Trees. Yeah, just continue to follow this author because, as I said, it's this book and this author that even inspired this video. So another book and author that also inspired this video was Otessa Moshwag. She's the author of My Year of Rest and Relaxation. You probably recognize this book. I've seen it a lot, in different spaces and such. It's a really interesting read. I gave it 4 stars, but this is a book I have recommended to so many people, even though it was only a 4-star read, not a 5-star read, because I found this book so freaking interesting and different and cool and weird, and I just wanted other people's opinions on it. Otessa Moshwag's writing is very bold and controversial and different. It's not lyrical, it's not pretty, it's not flowery, and I just found this book so interesting. You've also seen me perhaps compare this book to many other books and their writing, like Jolk. When I read Jolk, I talked about this book a lot because that book reminded me of this one. I figured out that, well, if I was so captivated and intrigued by her writing, I probably should read some other books by her. This book was released in 2018. In 2015, she released a book named Eileen. And then in 2020, she released a book named Death in Her Hands. I'm intrigued to read both of them. I honestly don't know that much about their plots and descriptions. I feel like the stories might be similar, the writing might be similar, and the length of the book and such. That's another author I really wish to continue to read books by. Another author I would love to read some more books by, purely because of entertainment, is Christina Lauren. Christina Lauren is the author of The Unhoneymooners and In a Holidays. This author duo has also written the Beautiful Bastard series, where I read the first book. I know that they have so many more books out there. So many rom-coms and just like a good time, I feel like. I really loved The Unhoneymooners. I loved it a lot. And I really liked In a Holidays as well. Not so much Beautiful Bastard, but that is fine. I don't have any particular book in mind, but just more books, more rom-coms by Christina Lauren. Sounds like a really good time for me and is something I wish to prioritize in the future. We also have the author Akwaeke Emesi, who is the author of Pet and The Death of Vivek Oji. Honestly, these are some of the most interesting books I read with amazing representation. Akwaeke Emesi, their pronouns are they, them. This author is just so interesting as well. Pet is a very different book and similar with The Death of Vivek Oji. And I just wish to read more of what they write and explore more of their themes because they're so interesting. I know that their debut novel is called Freshwater and that one was released in 2018. And then there's actually a memoir that came out this year by this author, which is called Dear Centhuran. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that. And also next year, there's a novel called Bitter being released, which is like a prequel to Pet. And I'm also super excited about this one. I feel like I have a lot of just great novels to catch up on by this author. If you're looking for some amazing LGBTQ plus representation, please check out their books because they are so good. They stick with you and I appreciate that. Another author I would like to read more books by is Khalid Hussein. He's the writer of The Kite Runner, which I read this spring. And I know that he has written more books with similar themes to this one. I know there's the 1,000 Splendid Suns, which was released in 2007. This one was released in 2003, so perhaps the writing has developed, I'm not too sure. But I've heard amazing things about that other book as well, and I'm not sure which one people usually prefer, but I have a feeling that The Kite Runner and 1,000 Splendid Suns are on a similar level. Once again, this was a book that really, it captivated me, it was interesting, it was heartbreaking and heart-wrenching at multiple times, great writing, and I just want to read more and learn more. I feel like I'm learning a lot from these books I'm talking about, and that's the reason why I want to read more by them, or except Christina Lauren. That's just for fun. They're teaching me things, I'm learning, and I really appreciate and love that, and that's something I definitely want to continue to do. Another author that intrigued me is Emily St. John Mandel. She's the writer of The Glass House. I listened to that one earlier this year. I didn't particularly love the book. I found the topic and the plot quite boring and not so interesting. But I did like the writing. The writing was just very solid and good. And I know that this author has another book called Station 11, and I think this one is more popular than The Glass House. Station 11 was actually published earlier than The Glass House. The Glass House was released in 2020. Station 11 was released in 2014. I would love to read Station 11, so that's another goal I have. If we're going back to some more romance and just like fun times with books, another author I would love to read more by is actually Katie Robert. She's the author of the Wicked Villains series that has become very popular recently, which is like a smutty BDSM twist to Disney tales, basically, where the main character does not end up with the romantic interest, but instead ends up with the villain of the book. They are apparently really, really good. I read Theirs for the Night by Katie Robert, which is a very short novella about a poly relationship, a male-male-female relationship, I think. I just read the first one in that series, but it was good. It was entertaining, it was smutty, it was hot. I'd love to read more by Katie Robert. I know that she, as I said, she has the Wicked Villains series. And there's also like the Dark Olympus series, I think, which is a new series that's being released currently. I know that another one of her books that is very popular as well is the Your Dad Will Do book. So I don't know, I feel like there's just a lot of like good times to explore with these books that I wouldn't mind to explore. And finally, an author that has intrigued me because of her writing is Gillian Flynn. I read Sharp Objects in 2020 and this book was released in 2006. You might recognize this author. She has written Gone Girl and also Dark Places, and those are books I would love to read as well. Gone Girl was released in 2012, Dark Places was released in 2009. So I think this must have been her debut then. I really enjoy this book as well. I enjoyed the mystery, the thriller aspect. I once again thought that the writing was very interesting because it was very bold, it was very straightforward, and it was fast-paced and a good time, and like it creeped me out at times, but it also kept me very interested and invested with the story. 8 different authors that I would love to read more books by. Hanya Yanagihara. flawless, amazing writing. Otessa Moshwag, one of the most interesting authors I've come across. Khalid Hussein, a book that just stirs so much in you, and also Gillian Flynn, such interesting thrillers. And then of course the romance and Emily St. John. I honestly think that this is the golden ticket, the way you should do it. If you find a book you really enjoy, try to explore more books by that author. I really think that there's like a secret recipe to this. This is something I will try out, and hopefully it will work out for me and I will have more 4 and 5 stars. All of these books I've talked about have been 4 or 5 stars because they've been that good. Yeah, I want to continue with that. I try to pick authors that I know have released other books. Of course, there are many debut authors that I am very intrigued by, like Shelley Parker Chan, who wrote She Who Became the Sun. We also have Frances Cha, who wrote If I Had Your Face. There's a lot of debut authors I wish to follow, but the ones I talked about today are authors I know have already released multiple books. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed. Please take care, and I'll see you on the next one. Goodbye! My legs are killing me.
You gotta just go for it. Don't think about what comes